All right. Well, Dr. Campbell, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
Well,
Um,
good to be here, Dr. Height. Thank you.
well, yeah, good, good, good. And so we're recording this for the sake of the students who are in this class. And it's an experimental course with students from Hampton, Prairie View, Claflin, Spelman, and North Carolina Central. And they all have the same charge to create a ritual, a new ritual that's sort of rooted in the traditions and the rituals of their archive for the sake of what students need now. So that's your audience. And so the first question that we have for you is, what do you think are the elements that make up an effective and affecting ritual? And I have ritual occasion. So they could be different questions.
So first of all, hello to all of the students out there. It's wonderful to have a chance to talk to you directly. So thank you to Dr. Height for organizing this. And I hope at some point in life, we all get to meet face to face. So the question, what makes for an effective ritual? I thought about those things, those rituals that had meaning for me.
Mhm,
Certainly marriage,
mhm,
birth,
mhm,
death,
mm, mhm,
uh, celebrations of anniversaries, of birthdays, of
mhm,
graduations, of here on Spelman's campus, the founding of the
mhm,
college,
mhm,
celebrating the walk through the arch,
mhm,
which is the seniors walking through the Spelman Arch and being greeted on the other side by Spelman alumni from years past.
mhm,
What makes all of these rituals, what links all these rituals together is that they mark some momentous occasion,
mhm,
either in our personal lives or in our institutional life.
mhm,
And they are meant to call on us to step out of our day-to-day life.
mhm,
They stop time, we unplug our phones, we
mhm,
step away from work, we stop looking at television, we gather
mhm,
together
mhm,
and we celebrate what connects us in
mhm,
in light of what it is we're celebrating. And this, I've seen this now looking back at the rituals in which I've participated, is it forges those bonds among us
mhm,
even stronger.
mhm,
It makes us realize what is important in our lives,
mhm,
and it makes us reflect.
mhm,
Because in the day-to-day pace of going from one thing to the next, we almost never have an opportunity to reflect on who
mhm,
we are, what our lives mean, what purpose we're bringing to them. So rituals then become important for that reason, but they're also carriers of history.
mhm,
So when we stand up at Founders Day every year and say that the two white missionaries went to Father Quarles in Friendship Baptist Church and we
mhm,
started in a basement and now this is where we are, we understand we understand our origins. We begin to understand what it took for us to continue year
mhm,
after year for 140 years, now 141 years to
mhm,
get here. So being reminded of that also gives us the strength and courage to understand not
mhm,
only that we can carry on, but
mhm,
how we can carry on.
mhm,
It reminds us of the kinds of creative and inventive ways that we imagine for ourselves to enable us to carry on. So,
mhm.
so I say all that to say they're really important.
Yeah, yeah. And listening to you, I mean, especially in the way that you began talking about birth and anniversaries and marriage and life and death, you really do see how the ones that we create at our institutions mimic the substance of those very things. Because in each of those moments, you do pause and you sort of marvel at the life that was lost, or the lives that are uniting. And I hadn't thought about that in that way. So that's a really important aspect, I think, to draw our attention to, because the students will be making their own. And to root them in life in such a meaningful way, I think has so much value.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit about the most moving ritual that you may have participated in?
Yes, and I am so glad that you asked that particular question,
Hmm.
because I do have a very important ritual. As you know, I have three grown sons.
Hmm.
The first two came when I was young, when I was in my 20s.
Hmm.
But my third son was born when I was in my 40s,
Oh, wow.
which is a
Okay.
very different time in your life. And, I was in my
Right.
20s, I was in graduate school, I was
Right.
hanging out with my friends, life was great. By the time I got to my 40s, my husband and I both had serious careers. We had
Yeah.
very densely scheduled lives, and,
Hmm.
we were out there doing this, that, and the other thing. And that event, his birth,
Hmm.
made me literally stop in my tracks and reconsider, well, who am I now? And what does this mean? And it led me to go back to the church,
Hmm.
frankly, seriously, for the first time in my life.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a member of Abyssinia Baptist Church. I went to my pastor, who's at the time was Reverend Calvin Butts,
Hmm.
and I said, I want to be baptized,
Wow.
because I felt that I was rethinking and reinventing myself in light of this very momentous life experience that was happening to our family. And
Wow.
so I went through the study, the Bible study, and all of that to prepare for it. And I had a full body baptism in Abyssinia
Ah.
Baptist Church. And that for me marked a real turning point in my life, in terms of my being much more intentional and deliberate
Hmm.
about the choices I make
Hmm.
vis-a-vis time for my family, time for my new member of my family, for myself,
Yeah.
and where that all fit in, and assuming a very different, I would say, attitude,
Hmm.
frankly, towards what priorities I would establish in my life. So
Wow.
I think sometimes we give ourselves permission
Mm.
to enter into rituals that we need at
Mm.
certain times in our life.
Wow. And I mean, was it the sort of the gestation that led you to that sort of point of reflection and understanding that you wanted to make these different choices?
Well, I would say that honestly, it was on the occasion of his birth. One of my two oldest sons, one of them was still living at home. The oldest was off at college, but
Mm-hmm.
the middle one was still living at home. And we used to go to church together, listen
Mm-hmm.
to Reverend Butts's sermons, and then we talk about them on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was thinking about some of the conversations I had with him,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, well, you can't hold yourself up and not be accountable to yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
You're trying to teach him certain lessons, and what's your accountability to yourself? And so here comes this new member of our family,
Yeah.
and I have to kind of rethink, what is our
Yeah.
family function in relationship to this very considerable career that I had built by that time.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's wonderful. Because, I was thinking about, how could you prompt that in students, that sort of excavation, that self-excavation.
I think
It's,
it has to do, I
mhm.
think it has a lot to do with, I'm very fortunate in that my children are very honest with me.
Okay. They tend to be.
They tend to be, right? And so you listen to your children will say things to you that no adult would ever think of saying to you,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And so sometimes the prompt comes from the people who love you. You
Yes.
have to be open to that. You can't,
Mhm.
sometimes you think that you get annoyed, but you have to be open to the fact that the people who love you are saying what they're saying to you because they love you. And
Yeah.
because they want to alert you to aspects of your life that require some reflection.
That's nice. That's lovely. Thank you for that. Okay, in terms of the campus, in terms of campus rituals and traditions, what kinds of outcomes do you think are possible from them?
So I think we saw it yesterday.
Yeah, I do.
We had our convocation, and at the end, walking in the back, I came across two of our Spelman students, and I
Mhm.
said, "What did you think?" And they began to tell me what they thought.
Yeah.
That it got them to thinking. It got them to making, they said, making connections they had not made
Right.
before.
Yes.
And so what our job as educators is to open up minds, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Fill it with, it's not the banking concept of
that's
education.
right.
We still deposit things, right?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it is the catalyst
Yes.
of education. We're opening up minds and we're getting people to think. We're sparking them to see connections that they hadn't made before,
Yeah.
to see an idea from a light they hadn't considered.
That's it.
The engagement. As we're thinking about future convocations, I'm thinking, how do we get more conversation inside the convocations itself
Nice.
to that? But
Yeah.
I want our traditions to be alive, lively, and incite our students to think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that problem though. Like, how do you get conversation within it? And now give me an assignment to think about models that might mimic that we might be able to draw on. I actually have one question on the paper, but I really have two. The question on the paper is about inspiring outcomes that you may have mentioned, that you may have witnessed from rituals. But my final question is the difference between what you may have witnessed in terms of rituals at NYU and at Spelman, like how they differ in those different spaces, or if there's a difference.
Mhm, mhm. I'll take that one first. You know,
Okay.
NYU is huge.
Yeah.
We would have an opening ceremony for all the new students from all the schools at Madison Square Garden.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I would have my end of the year ceremony, my salute, so to speak, in Radio City Music Hall. I mean, you know, it's just the commencement was in Yankee Stadium. I mean, you know,
Wow.
when you are dealing with scale,
Hmm.
differences of scale, you have to choreograph the ritual to fit the scale.
Yes.
And I must say, in NYU, obviously they've been big for a long time,
Hmm.
so they understood that,
Hmm.
and I think do a very good job.
Hmm.
However, when you have a more intimate scale,
Yeah.
you can create rituals that build on that intimacy
Hmm.
much more effectively. And that's the value, the beauty of the small liberal arts college.
Yeah, that's
Now,
right.
I went to Swarthmore, which was a Quaker college,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
whole idea of, well, they didn't call it convocation, it was called collection.
Yeah.
You collected
Yeah.
people and you didn't, if you had something to say, you stood up and you said it. That's, you know.
That's it. Right.
So the scale of liberal arts, small liberal arts colleges permits us to speak to each other in an intimate way. And
Hmm.
what I inevitably hear when I am in a group of Spelman students and they speak, I hear a level of candor
Yeah.
and honesty and
Mm-hmm.
directness and unself-consciousness that I think it's difficult to achieve when you're in a larger setting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, right, with all those, those fancy spaces, there's still something that you could do in your sort of, clearing, if you will, that is moving and meaningful.
Yes.
That's lovely.
I love that. I love that reference back to the sermon.
Yeah.
In the clearing, yes. We
Yes.
have here that we have clearings here, and we have calling, you
Yeah.
really feel called forth to come. And and that I love the image that you gave of gathering pieces,
Yes.
and we as a people who are gatherers and
Yes.
the pieces and make something out of that.
That's it. That's it. Well, it is nice that we're doing this on the heels of what we did yesterday, because I think that we did a good job. Well, look, I know you are a busy woman, so I so appreciate you taking the time to do this for me.
Oh, sure. I think this is a great idea. And I think, the thing we have to guard against is that if we're not careful,
Mhm.
traditions and rituals can become rote.
Yes.
You can go through these things, just, recite them, go through the
Mhm.
steps, and pretty soon they empty out, their meaning empties out of them, and
That's
they
it.
don't do anything.
Mhm.
And that's where I think traditions and rituals sometimes get a bad name,
Yes.
right?
That's
So
right.
the real challenge to us as the stewards and keepers of culture
Mhm.
is to make sure that we keep them, genuinely keep these alive.
I think that's right. That's right. And on that note, that's it. That's a wrap.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Okay,
Okay.
have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.